Okay, so what I've got is the morning sun, so I do apologize. I'm going to try to sit in a balanced spot. Good morning, everyone. No, this is so horrible. Sorry, guys. I don't know how to sit without it being in my face a little bit. So this is how it is this morning. Early morning. Sort of. All right, guys. Welcome. I'm just going to try to turn my thing down a little bit. Because only when I'm in the middle, I know, look at the sun. I've got the thing shut. Sorry, guys. Good morning, good morning. Thank you so much for coming in. And the sun is just getting me. I don't know if I can shut that any further than it is. That's it. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Sorry about this sun. It's crazy. This is what happens when I'm on a call with people and it's in the morning. It's like there's the... Oh, I've got paper over here. No, it's okay. What I'm going to try to do is lower my stand a little bit. So just a second, everybody. I'm just going to put this around the other way so I can do this. You can see the sun coming in. I've got the thing shut. Oh, shit. I don't think that this goes down any further. Oh, good morning. I'm trying. Okay, this does not go down any further, so this is how it is. This is what I'm dealing with, the sun coming in my window at this time of the morning. I will try to sit somewhere else. I might actually try to face a different way so we don't get it as much. Okay, let me try this for a second. All right, let me turn this around. That's even worse. Okay, welcome. And I do apologize again for this sun. I'll try to pull it as much as I can to me, but that's just what's going to happen. Hope you guys are well. I'm going to be talking today about emotional flashbacks. I wish I could sit somewhere else to do this because of the sun. All right. Maybe if you guys bear with me for just a second, I will... I know, I can't escape. If you bear with me for just a second, I'm going to turn the camera around and I'll go to my other desk over here and maybe the sun won't be in my face so much, okay? So just a second. All right, so bear with me because I'm going to have to move to here. It's okay, I'm moving, honey. I am moving. I can probably sit here. And you guys are going to... Oh, no, that's my wall. How boring. All right. Let's see if this works. Let's see. I'm just going to go up a little bit. Okay, let's have a look. Turn this around. Okay, so maybe that's a little better. You see the wheel in the background? You can still see that sun, right? Oh dear. Okay, really trying. My husband's going to try to put something in front of that window, I'm thinking. But yeah, it's still there. Oh, he's got a blanket. All right, hang on a sec. Everyone, it looks a little bit better like that, right? But see, now it's better because he's closing that up. See, the sun, it just loves me, I'm telling you. This is what I got to go through. All right, everyone. Okay. All right, we might be getting somewhere. I don't know how he's going to do this, but let me just fix this again. Oop. Okay. Oh, thank God. I know. All right, that's better. Thank you, honey. Look, he's had to close that up like that. All right. That's way better. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. I would have sat over there, but never mind. Okay. Finally. All right. You see how the sun, I'm just a sun person. It just loves my face. It loves me. Awesome. Okay. Welcome. Sorry for all this mess around. And it's early morning, and now I'm going to know. Good morning. So now I'm going to know the early morning is a little bit more difficult. But that's with my window blocked, and I still getting a little bit of sun in. But it's all good. So today I'm going to be talking about emotional flashbacks. Okay, flashbacks. And it's an interesting concept. So I don't know why I'm going into flashbacks on an early Monday morning, but I am. Good morning, G. Loved your podcast and would love to do it with you as well. Like, let's get on there. Bobby and I are just like, yes, because we wanted to do a podcast for the longest time. But, time factors and all the stuff. So, yeah, anytime you want us on your show, no problem. That'd be cool. Well, I don't know about that first thing in the morning. I'm trying. But thank you, guys. I just need to... I've just sort of rushed here, and then the sunlight was just nuts. So here we go. But this is nice. All right, everyone. So we are going to be talking about... Great. Start planning it out, please, because we would love to come and have some fun with you, G, on your podcast with your friend Ajay as well. And we were listening this morning, and we're like, oh, God, this is just us, just having a chat, etc. And G Mason has his own podcast. It's all kind of just talking about life, right? And just what stuff happens to us, exactly. Okay, and so this today is also going to be talking a lot about life, things that happen to us, and the emotional flashbacks, how they, how those emotional flashbacks can sort of ruin our progress in some ways. Hi, Veronica. Thanks so much for coming in. And thank you to all who were with us spinning the wheel as well. And if you haven't contacted me yet, make sure you email me today so I can get these things out for you as well. So let's just get organized here. I woke up this morning and having flashbacks from... Okay, so I woke up this morning and the last couple of days, and I've had kind of nightmares going on. Most of my nightmares entail being injured in some way, or not being able to find Bobby, or someone kidnapping me or something. So I've had many nightmares. Just sometimes it comes up with the moon energy, because you've got to look at when you're having a flashback or something's going on with you. For me, it had to do with the moon energy, usually every time. So there's been a whole lot of stuff over the years of, and I've told you guys some stories of being, the kidnapping that sort of happened to me, and also when I was little and being thrown in a room full of people for 3 days and not knowing, if anyone was ever going to come and get me ever again, and all the hideous things that happened in that room. There's been other instances throughout my life, being trapped in situations, being trapped, across the world. not now, thank God, but being trapped in places where there's nobody that can assist you. Like there's nobody that can help you get out of that, issue, that problem, that situation. And we have all these emotional flashbacks. These come back from traumatized situations in your life that are unresolved. a lot of the times what happens with this is you've cut your memory out. So when a traumatic event has happened, you've pulled yourself out of your physical body and, you know, blocked your memory yourself, right? You've blocked this from, you've blocked the knowledge. So my husband often talks about having a big gap of his childhood years where, you know, everything's missing, where there's information that's missing, right? And like tons of it. And also the same for myself. It took me a long time to figure out the different things that I was remembering. So for example, Venetian blinds, like remembering these Venetian blinds and always seeing them in my memory of these big, thick, brown Venetian blinds and not knowing what the hell it was all about. And then remember being very foggy, like looking around in the back of a, you know, station wagon and being really foggy, not knowing what that was, you know. So sometimes you get all these little bits of information and you've got to try to put it all together into something that happened to you. Okay, so everybody's kind of aware that flashbacks can happen, and emotional flashbacks can happen through somebody else also. Now let me just get my coffee because I left it over here. And I still have my pajamas on. I have my pajama bottoms on. All right? Okay, everybody, my pajama bottoms. Right? Because it's comfortable. And that's me. So I'm pajama bottoms till anyone comes to the door, then I'm racing downstairs to get changed. Okay. They're actually Bobby's dad's pajama bottoms. How bad's that? And my Christmas pants. Oh my God. Bobby's dad's in heaven saying, well, she's finally in my pants. Yeah, Ashton will show up any second. I'll be like, no! So I got half ready, okay? Half ready. Oh my God. Okay, so we got to laugh. Whatever. Okay? Nobody sees your bottom half. You could be sitting there in just your underpants. I used to do that in the summer. Like, this is too hot. No one's going to see. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, so, wait, what was I? You totally would have made that joke. I know. God help us. All right. So, that's the thing. Can you imagine, like, the people on the news? They probably sit there and they've just got, like, a suit jacket on, but nothing really underneath. It's like they're all sitting there cross-legged with their little shoes on and no pants. Oh, no. Oh, you're doing fine, honey. All right. All right. So, everybody, thank you so much for coming in. And emotional flashbacks is the topic. Okay, who cares? My grandma was from America, so the only time we heard American accents when we were kids was my grandma. And so she would say to me, like as a woman, you know, she would say to me, well, when we were kids as well, if you're not ready, you're gonna get caught. Someone's gonna knock on the door and you're not dressed, your hair's not done. You're gonna get caught. I can't do it. But that's my grandma's voice. It sounds like Marge Simpson. Well, and so, yeah, I always have that going through my mind. It's like, you're going to get caught. Someone's going to come to the door. You're not ready. The house is a mess or whatever. But no one visits you when the house is clean, you know. My husband loves it when I do it because he's like, you don't have an American accent until you do grandma. It's funny. All right. clean undies in case something happens, and they're gonna cut you open and see everything. Oh my God! I'm like, I'll be out. I don't care. God, unbelievable. Okay. Now I've got to put all my books and stuff away. Hang on a sec. Oh, but what a waste of time worrying about all that stuff, really. If someone's going to come, they're going to come. You're going to figure it out. You're going to figure it out at the time. If Ashton turns up, I won't really care because that's our son. So he's seen me worse. He's seen me first thing in the morning, like one eye shut, like coffee. So, okay. Now, I'm just going to go start to get into this now because we do have I have a super busy week actually. Yeah, yep. So I have a super busy week, and so I'm going to try to get these live shows. I'm so happy that you guys are really enjoying the live every day. I don't know how people go live every single day. Especially when you're trying to run 2 businesses now. But yeah, some people go live every single day. I don't know how they do it, so kudos to you guys. But I will, I have decided that, pretty much every day you guys are going to see me, hear me, have a video of some kind. YouTube has been, as you know, difficult for many people, especially me. Maybe just by being positive, it's not something that, I don't know, people don't want the people to be positive. People don't want you to get well, because there's no money in people who are well. Okay, there's no money with pharmaceutical companies and doctors and all sorts, psychiatrists. If you guys are all figuring out this yourself, if you guys are figuring out you're never going to need to go to the doctor or have checkups or anything again, because you can figure your own self out. Maybe that's a reason why a lot of us are being kind of pushed down. I don't like to talk about it because I don't want to bring it into my energy, but it's happening. But at the same time, I'm reversing everything anyway, so I'm always thinking of, like, who cares. But getting you guys to a point where you can understand yourself, your life, what's happening with your life, what's happening with your journey, mental health, the reasons why things happen. That's what I want to help you guys with. So today I thought of emotional flashbacks because I was having enough of my own. And, there's been so many dreams where I'm cut to pieces. I've actually died in my dreams. This was just a couple of weeks ago. Like, completely died. And I thought when you die in your dream, then that's it. But I was still here. I'm still here. But maybe, the shamanic type of thing where, a part of you dies kind of thing. So most people talk about emotional flashbacks if they have had some kind of PTSD. And I would pretty much guarantee that any of you that are listening have had episodes with post-traumatic stress disorder and not even realize that was happening to you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get into sort of talking about this, and Pilot, don't pull that down. Oh dear. Sort of talking about this, and hopefully this will resonate with you, and then I'll chime in, we'll have a conversation about it as well. Okay, inflammation in your body is a lot of different things can cause fluid in the body. The biggest thing on an emotional level would be more than likely that you are suffering on the inside or crying on the inside. You're not grieving properly. So this fluid accumulates. So I'll go through different things. I'm going to turn I won't be able to see your chat, okay? Because otherwise I go about trying to answer everything. And if I do that, then I'm never going to get to my point. So let's go through a little bit about, a little bit about the complex PTSD and also the emotional flashbacks of things, okay? So when there's been a sort of a severe type of trauma in your life, now it doesn't matter whether it's one event or many events throughout your life. There's another name for it, and it's like trauma syndrome. You may not actually realize that you've been traumatized until much later in your life, okay? So the most common features of someone who's had complexity of a stress disorder or a complexity of trauma syndrome, okay, there's usually 5 common troublesome features. One is emotional flashbacks, which we're going to be talking about. The second one is toxic shame, okay? This is what you do to yourself, and it's toxic to yourself. The third one is self-abandonment. Everybody else comes first, etc. An inner critic as well, so you're always beating yourself up before anybody else can. And social anxiety. So these are 5 of the most common types of signs for you. Now, you've probably got 4. You might have all 5 of them, right? You might even have one of them. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is where you sit, okay? It's relevant to what's going on in your spiritual journey and the journey of your whole life. So, perhaps one of the most noticeable characteristics about emotional flashbacks and PTSD, traumatizing abandonment, are extremely susceptible to painful emotional flashbacks, okay? So they're sudden. An emotional flashback suddenly happens to you, okay? And it usually comes from a stress indicator that happened when you were a kid and you've forgotten about it. Okay, so for example, obviously when I was a kid, abuse started when I was about 4.5, 5 years old. It went until 13 through my mother, my stepfather, and whoever else they invited into the circle, right? So there was all these abuses. So common things that would happen would be a shutting me up. So I just learned to be quiet. Just be quiet. Don't say anything. Just be quiet. You dare say something and you're going to cop it, right? So you don't tell anybody about our life. You don't talk about what's happening. It's all, and if you do, then you're going to be labeled a liar. So it's basically constantly going through this thing. So when there's a situation in my life, so say for example, this happened, there was, all this stress and all these things that I couldn't speak up about. And when there's something in my adult life that flashes me back to feeling abandoned, rejection, not good enough, not being able to say something, people not believing, people who are liars getting away with things, it burns up an emotional flashback inside where I just want to rage, I just want to scream at the universe, what the hell is this? Why the hell is this happening? And these people are getting away with it. And why is that happening? It's like it's like because of what happened to me before and squashed, and you be quiet and you be quiet and you be quiet and don't you say anything and you shut up and you shut up. And then when finally the authorities took me away from my family and put me in foster homes and stuff, then someone finally recognized it. Someone finally told the authorities what was happening to me. It was one of my friends actually. And she told her mother. Her mother went to the authorities. Finally, someone came and helped me. But when I got out of it, and I started to, try to tell my story as hard as that was, I was labeled a liar, and the whole family, so the outside of my inner circle, so outside of my mum, stepdad, brothers and sisters, my aunts and uncles, even my Grammy, who I love so much, all turned their back on me because they believed my mother when she told them all, oh, she's just, over exaggerating, she's making the whole thing up, it's all a lie, oh, she just lies all the time. And so you're inside of yourself not validated whatsoever, right? So inside of yourself, it's like, I know I'm not lying, this happened to me, this is my life, was hell, on earth, and I'm not even telling these people everything that you did, and you're calling me, a liar, right? So everybody just turn. And this may have happened to you in your life. Oh, come on, don't, you're over exaggerating. Even my husband says, things where his mum will be like, oh no, that's rubbish. Or that didn't happen. Or that wasn't a bad thing to let you smoke when you were like 10. That's not a bad thing, And it's like, what? Would you let your kids smoke at 10? No. So, there's just all these things where you're gaslighted, you're made to believe something, and if someone tells a lie long enough, people believe it, And my mum was a mastermind at that. And especially when you understand the complexity of a narcissistic parent, their whole goal is to make people believe their story and to shut out, the scapegoat, which was me. I was the scapegoat for everything. Shut that one person out, because it's easier to shut one person out than to have the family believe that everybody else was the abusers when they were. So it's easy just to shut one person down. Oh, who's going to believe Becky anyway? Like, oh my God, look at her. Like, like the whole family are just like, how could you do this to your mother? That's what I got told. How could you do this to your mum? How could you do this? And I'm like, there's no answers. There's nobody who's going to listen, right? But it started my journey of expansion, okay? It started me to be who I am today. So your emotional flashback is one of the most noticeable sort of survival tactics that you may have. And they are sudden, they are prolonged, they are regressing back to overwhelming feeling states of being an abused, abandoned child, okay? It all goes back to something that happened to you as a child, maybe even things that you can't remember happened to you as a child. And they bring overwhelming fear, shame, alienation, rage, grief, and depression. And they also can include triggering our survival instincts of flight or fight, instincts. My music's just stopped just a sec. As well, right? So we have all of these things going on. And the reason that this can happen is unresolved stuff. So if there's anything that's unresolved within you, it's going to come out in emotional flashbacks or physical symptoms. Someone was talking about bloating or water. You haven't been able to release grief, sadness, okay, upset. Something is triggering a response inside of you of crying, but you're not crying. So the body starts to absorb water. Okay, it's true. So flashback can range in intensity from very subtle flashbacks. Suddenly you're in a bad mood. Something has triggered you, maybe from a couple of weeks ago, right? And horrific things, can range from moments to weeks on end, where you're going through this, I don't know what's wrong with me, and I'm so upset, and I'm angry, or I'm fearful. I just want to hide in my room, right? So hiding away. Remember when we talked about your emotional responses, your survival instincts? Some people hide and they don't say anything. Some people try to make everybody happy, so they're never going to express that they're even triggered in the first place because they have to be perfect. All right? There's other people that will just get really, really full of anger and rage and actually never get past that. So what I'm trying to explain to you is that your emotional flashbacks that you have throughout your life, part of them are there to serve you, to show you what still needs self-love. Everything goes about you loving yourself completely, right? So if there are areas of your life where you still need to love yourself, forgive yourself, or hold compassion for yourself and understanding for yourself when nobody else was there, giving truth to yourself when nobody else would believe you, telling your story and you know, getting it on paper. Even for me, I wrote things down. So when I get all of my things here, I have journals that, you know, for years and years and years of every day of how I was, what was happening, how I was feeling. And this is not even getting into getting out of, you know, family environment, going into foster homes, moving across the world to my dad in Pennsylvania, then going to religious communities and having to live there and just being dumped off all the time, you know, dumped. There you go, you can handle it, you go there. No one wanting the responsibility for a child, and learning to be very, very strong within myself. So then after that, going into my having children and my first, you know, proper boyfriend and all that sort of stuff, and the heinous, you know, stuff that continued to happen. So I get it, but if you don't focus on why these things come up to you, but also that you're not focusing on something always being wrong with you because you're having, you know, an upsetting day, or something's bugging you, or you're being pulled back into some kind of issue. You know, it's all about on your journey, it's all about learning how to address these things compassionately with yourself, rather than trying to shut it up, shut it down, shut it off, get rid of it, push it away, don't want to know. You've got to look at it. Otherwise, it just continues to come back and come back and come back, right? So these things are here for us to learn from. Now, some people talk about emotional flashbacks with regards to being in a relationship, perhaps. Maybe when, okay, so maybe you were yelled at or mentally abused as a child, and one of your parents would scream and get into their temper and screaming the house down kind of thing. And, you know, you could get into a relationship with someone and nothing has happened to you, and suddenly that person starts screaming about something, and you're like, the horror of what was occurring, like it was stripping the skin back, you know, being in this situation with this person, and it's just like all of a sudden they are showing another face that you had no idea about. And first of all, it takes you back to being the kid and being in that household, or whatever it was for you. And secondly, you feel stupid. Like, how could you not have known, you know, that this was going to happen? And thirdly, you really think to yourself later on in hindsight, I should have just walked right out, or I should have just had an answer for that, or I should have stood my ground, you know. In hindsight, we always go back like, oh, this has happened or that's happened, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And you can't do it at the time. You're just frozen for the most part, okay? You can be disorientated, you're unable to speak, you're unable to respond, you're unable to even think when you are going through a huge flashback like that. Sometimes you manage to just pull yourself together, right? Get out of the situation, pull yourself together. And it was a flashback, you know, what you were having was a flashback when that person did that. You went into flashback back mode without even realizing it, right back to similar situation as a kid. It might have been your mother or father or grandfather or whoever it was. Now these two, what in the world are you doing? Look at this. Pilot, what are you up to? He's going to pull that sheet down. He's in there. There's seed in there. So cute. There's seed outside for the birds. So he's like, that's mine. Okay. So flashbacks, emotional flashbacks, are also accompanied by intense arousals of your instincts. And remember, we talked about your survival instincts. He's still there sniffing around. Pilot, out. Out. Good boy. I just got to point at him. Yeah, so it brings up the, energy of flight or fight kind of thing. And also your nervous system goes into overdrive. Everything goes into overdrive. And when the fear is dominant in a flashback, the person feels extremely anxious, panicky, even suicidal. Okay, so the suicidal ideation can come into your complex PTSD as well. So it's a sense of feeling small, fragile, right? Young, powerless, and helpless. And also symptoms are typically overlaid with humiliating and crushing toxic shame. So what happens to you is when you have a reaction like that, if someone puts you into trauma or someone activates trauma in your body, once the initial trauma is finished and you've gone through it, then you start attacking yourself. Oh, it's my fault. I shouldn't have reacted like that. I shouldn't let things get to me. Oh, there's something wrong with me. I'm mental. I need to go on my antidepressants. Like there's something I just can't deal. So straight away you go into the self-critic. Now the inner critic in itself will tell you all kinds of things about yourself that are absolutely ridiculous. So toxic shame, it obliterates your survival self-esteem. You've gone into a state of getting really strong, and then something rips it back and rips it back and rips it back. Okay, I really hope that for all of your sake that are listening, if you are in a situation where you're hiding the phone so you can listen to this talk today, or you can't talk about your spiritual journey, or you can't talk about what you believe in because people are going to think you're crazy, or they don't understand it, or they think there's some crystal ball person doing the fortune telling or something. If you can't explain to your family because they're religious, you can't explain to your partner because they just don't get it. If you're hiding away right now, and I really hope that these words and this sort of topic and these sort of things help you to understand yourself, because I was the same. I was hiding everything in my life. Nobody knew about it. Of course, we didn't have YouTube or anything like that. So I had to read books and discovering, what symptoms were what if someone took certain tablets. If someone took antidepressants or antipsychotics or antihypnotics or anti-hallucinogens, I wanted to know what the symptoms were that they had before they even took that. Not to mention what it can do to them after having taken it. So this is how I started to understand that when I was in a very abusive relationship when I was young with my kid's dad, that I had to say to myself, I'm trying to talk to somebody and make someone rationalize things when they are mentally absolutely insane, right? And here I am trying to talk sane energy to them and try to tell them, this is what's going on, right? And they are insane, right? Like you wouldn't believe. And you're trying to rationalize something to someone who is mentally incapable of understanding what you're saying, because their life, sadly, was one of trauma. Their life was, one of manipulation. Their life was one of, having to be one step ahead of everybody. And because they think that, everyone's a scoundrel, or they don't trust anybody, or everybody's going to rip them off, because that's exactly what they do. So they have this inbuilt, radar or something within them where they think that everybody thinks the same way. So therefore you're in trouble before you've even started doing anything, right? So truly psychotic people and people with, split personalities, psychosis, etc., narcissism can come under all of those things. Sociopathic, tendencies where there's no feeling. All of these things have developed. I don't believe truly that someone is born completely evil. However, there's a darker agenda within the soul path, right? So when you're dealing with an abusive situation, when you're dealing with abusive childhood, and when you're dealing with being called a liar when you know the truth, and everybody just shuns you and you're rejected because of your telling the truth, some people go in an opposite direction and they start just being a jerk in life. Well, you know what? Might as well just be a jerk because everybody thinks I am one. So, people who are jerks seem to get away with everything. So I might as well be one, right? I used to see this in relationships. I'm like, that girl is such a cow to her partner, yet he's there doting all over her. Maybe I have to be a cow or something and someone will love me, right? And I remember my soul dad, who was right away from my family, but he was my soul dad. I met him when I was 18. I knew that this was a father figure for me. And he said to me, he's very Australian, so he would say to me, "Oh, don't worry about it, mate, just keep being yourself. There'll be someone out there who absolutely loves you for who you are. You do not change who you are. Just keep being yourself, mate." And that's how he used to talk to me. Right? There's a couple of different types of accents in Australia. And I sound like I've been to school. I haven't. Right? But there's others that sound like that. Just ochre, Australian ochres. But anyway, you think to yourself sometimes, and I'm sure you have, well, I might as well just be an idiot because, people who lie and cheat and steal get away with it, right? And that's what seems to happen. So if you were the crazy one, let's say, for example, if you were the one that was a narcissist, if you were the one that is a psychopath, if you were the one that was a sociopath, if you were the one with extreme, volatile mental health, crazy energy, you would not be looking for assistance. You would not be listening to this video. And the reasons why you would not be doing that is because you actually don't believe there's anything wrong with you, right? So with you guys trying to better yourself, get well, get happy, have adventure in your life, clear all of this crap from your past, understand all of this crap from your past. While you guys are actually doing that and focusing on that vibration, right? And you are the empaths here. You are the sensitive ones here, right? So putting you in a label of having complex PTSD or, psychological issues or whatever, like you can have those things happening because of the past and the trauma that you've had. But the wanting or the willingness to get well breaks you apart from being a true psychopath or a true narcissist, So, narcissists love to triangulate you, make you feel like you're going crazy, make you feel like you're lying or that you can't remember the truth. They really, really, really work on this all the time. And they love to prey on people who are empathic. That's their greatest goal, is to have someone who is completely empathic, because that person that's empathic obviously wants to help. So when you're in a relationship that's toxic like this, everything will be going really sweet. And usually in the beginning, the love bombing stage happens. And oh, wow, they're just mimicking everything of your interests and your likes and your tastes. And they seem to come from a good place. And they seem like misunderstood people. And oh, wow, all these things are happening. So you fall right into it as an empath. And suddenly, as time comes along, there'll just be this monster moment, And you'll be just reeling from this like shock of, who is this person? What the hell is going on? Right? Oh my God, what is this? And so your first, I guess they reveal themselves with the mask coming off. And this first terrible, screaming, infuriated person over nothing. Or just ditching you somewhere and leaving you in the middle of nowhere or something. And you're like, I don't know whether you're going to come back or what you're doing, and just hurting you and then come back like nothing has happened. These are narcissists. They're not going to change from doing that. They enjoy getting that reaction from you. And when you finally figure all of it out, they discard you. And then they go around and tell everybody that you've done all of these things, right? The things that they've done, and try to make people believe it. Usually that happens before you've even woken up. Like, they've already started creating a plan. Who thinks like this? This is like maniacal thinking. You go into a situation or a relationship with the expectation that it's going to work. But these people go into a relationship with you with the expectation that they are going to dominate you in one way or another, get everything they can out of you, whether it's money, sex, whatever it is, get everything that they can, get full control of you so they can feel powerful. And when you work it out, if you do, some people, it takes years for them to work it out. They've put up with the abuse for years. When you work it out, the moment they see that in you, they discard you and go with somebody else that they had in the wings for a really long time. And they will never get help. They will just go out there and try to destroy you, My husband knows what I'm talking about. He had people who actually created a Facebook page of hate against him, so they could all get together and do their maniacal control stuff, And, the same happened with the ex in the UK that was there, that he started going to everybody that he could and trying to say, oh, you need to listen to this, and try to play his case, And he still comes on videos every now and then and says, oh, you did this. And it's all the things that he did, all the things that he did to try to see if someone will actually take him seriously. And, not to mention all of the people that have written to me over the years saying, oh my God, this guy is insane. He's written to me while he was with you, and he was doing this while he was with you, and he was, asking me to marry him when he was with you. And I mean, crazy stuff, right? So I never said anything about it and just got right the hell away. But this is the kind of thing. You get sucked in to try to help somebody, right? And then they show this monster, and you're reeling because of your emotional flashbacks, right? You're reeling from this whole thing like, oh my God. And you'll do anything to get it back to normalcy, okay? And you're not the crazy one, all right? I mean, you're not the one who really needs help here. You need help with understanding that it wasn't your fault, and that you can get past it, and that you're a stronger person. And a lot of people who have been in situations that are abusive tell themselves that they must have been doing something wrong, or they must have been, they should have looked a certain way, or they should have listened to their instincts, which is me. I should have definitely listened to my instincts. So that's always the case for me. I ignore them and then I get in trouble, right? So you all know what that's like. But, blaming of the self-critical stuff, the frustration that people don't understand, and going into trying to figure things out, that is not someone who is psycho, just so you know, okay? If you think that you're going crazy because you're having emotional flashbacks, you're getting upset, you might even get yourself angry and, frustrated sometimes, and it's over the top, doesn't mean that you're a psycho. It means that you're a real person, a real empathic person with deep feelings that has been deeply hurt. Okay, and you're trying to figure out why, and the common denominator is it keeps happening to you. So it's like, well, it must be me because it keeps happening to me, or I keep attracting it, or whatever you think, and any way to blame yourself possible. Okay, That is not someone who is a true sociopath, narcissistic person, or, having really mentally insane, ideas of grandeur. Because someone who's mentally insane wants to be on top, like Hitler. He wants to be in control. He wants to dictate to everybody. He wants to make everybody afraid so that they will comply, right? Which is, okay. This is all flashing back with what's happened in the last 12 months. I don't care who you are and what you believe in. There's been psychological abuse done, because one thing is that we've had to wear this thing on our face, right? Which takes away your identity. So it doesn't matter whether it's there to help you, save you, stop you from getting some kind of, virus or whatever. It's taking away your identity, right? And so, this was done to people in the past to make them dumb down, to make them conform, right? It's been done in the past. That's why you see, women with burqas, etc., because that's how they were taught. You cover up and you conform better. So while your face is open, it's harder to confront somebody. Like this, it's easy to confront somebody. And, there's all that kind of energy behind it. There's reasons why things happen. There's reasons why governments do things to us. They stop this and they stop that and they start raising this and that. So we're always in this energy of, am I safe? Is my job going to be okay? What if they take the internet away? What if I can't do this? And what if I can't pay the rent? And what if I can't? So we're always in this energy. And if you don't think you've been affected by it, fantastic. Okay. But I can guarantee you, on some level, every single human being on this earth has been the victim of psychological abuse. Whether it's a real virus or whether someone's made it up or whatever the hell it is, the fact is how it's been handled. Okay? So that has brought things to the surface for you as well. That has brought your emotional rawness to the surface, whether you believe it or not. It has. It's triggered us in so many ways, whether it's from this life or past lives, where we've had to conform, do as we're told, be slaves, hide ourselves, not reveal our identity, not let people know who we are or whatever it is, or hiding away from these people in case they figure out that we're a Jew or we're a Muslim or whatever we are, you see? No one puts that together, the amount, this has been a great big plan against humanity. And we've known that this has happened for a really, really long time, where, the dark energies that are out there, okay, sorry, but they are out there to try to block us from succeeding in our mission of being self-sufficient in every way. You see what that is? You don't need the doctors. You can grow your own stuff. You can grow your own food. You can take care of yourself. You can draw water wherever you need to. You can look after your health. You can look after your mental health. You can live with the land. You can be above pharmaceuticals and taking this and taking that and listening to the news. You don't need any of it, right? They don't want us to get together and realize that we are able to do this and really powerful at it as well. They want to keep you dumbed down, and so does your emotions. Okay, so your emotional flashback stuff, your overwhelming stuff, the traumas, the triggers, the situations are happening to reveal to you where there still needs to be self-love, healing, forgiveness, compassion, right? But at the same time, when it's going on, you're not thinking to yourself, well, I just need to love myself a little bit more and this will go away. No, you are in it. You are back in it. All right. And that's what I wanted to talk about, that, these intensities of these flashbacks, the dreams that you have, which is your subconscious mind showing things to you, right? Showing stuff to you. Sometimes people will come up in my dreams, but most of the time it's me. If I'm remembering a negative dream or something, it's me, going through something, but coming out the other side of it, right? So toxic shame is there, and it can just obliterate your self-esteem. Bang. And some of these are some of the common, this is a common list of symptoms, okay, that you might have as someone who has been through complex trauma, right? So emotional flashbacks, obviously. Toxic shame, always beating yourself up. Inner and outer critic, always critical of yourself on the inner side and on the outside. Self-abandonment, so you reject yourself. You don't want to, you just look everywhere else for someone else to do the work because you don't even trust that you can do the work. Social anxiety, feelings of loneliness and abandonment as well. Fragile self-esteem. Attachment disorder, getting yourself just gripped into somebody and it's a psychic bonding, right? Problems with development issues, like maybe you weren't as tall as you were supposed to be, or something stunted your growth. I mean, we used to talk about that because I'm 5'5" perhaps, and on a good day. And I always thought to myself, I stopped growing when I was like 13, 14, and I've still been that same height, right? So what caused that? What caused the stunting in the growth, etc.? Fragile self-esteem, relationship difficulties. So when you're not healed, okay, when you're not in control of yourself and really empowering yourself, then what happens is you find relationships that are really crappy. Okay, sometimes they might have almost everything that you're looking for, and then suddenly there's a big thing that you just can't look past, and it's just too much, right? So relationship difficulties continue. Radical mood facilitations. So, because you've been triggered somewhere, because you've had an emotional sort of flashback, then your moods can go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, right? So there's nothing wrong with you. It's that you've been triggered somewhere and you've got to figure it out. These things can be more in-depthly explained, okay? When I do mentoring or something like that with you, and I figure out where you sit on the fucking spectrum, yes, and I swore, came out, where you sit on that spectrum, then you start to see where you start to see what's going on or where you're at on the level of healing, right? So hair triggered fight or flight response as well. So that can just come up like this, like nothing, right? And oversensitive to stressful situations. Oversensitive to stressful situations. So some people, one way that they do it is a stressful situation will come and they'll just be like, oh, I've just got to get out of here, right? And make themselves invisible kind of thing. Other people like me, if there's a stressful situation, I'm right on top of it. Like, okay, let's do this and this and this and this. It's all good. We've got this. Like, I'm really good in a crisis. Later on, I fall apart like, oh my God, that was terrible. But at the time, I'm like in it. Or some people will just be like, oh, this is happening. I need to get away. Right? So when you're going through, these traumatic responses, when you're going through, or have been through trauma, then the way that you respond to a crisis is going to be different, right? And maybe some of you are like me and you can really get it together. At the time, I've always been like that. At the time of something, I've always got it together. And later on is when I feel it, right? So some people feel it at the time, which is hard because then you can't do anything. You're just like, in a daze kind of thing. So, so intense and prolonged flashbacks as well can happen. Just goes on and on and on. So, what I've noticed with people that I've worked with in the past is that something will come up for them. They'll manage to get past it. Okay. And what I always try to say is, excuse me. So they're getting past what the problem is or whatever. And I say, now notice, okay, when you're starting the downward spiral again, because that's the other thing as well. When you're going through the downward spiral, it's like it keeps on coming at you. So you start thinking in a certain way first, usually. So you'll be like, oh, this feels like my fault, right? And then it starts to go, well, it's always my fault, once again, here I am. I'm to blame. I need to get myself out the way. That's what some people do. And noticing that downward spiral when you should have said something, like you should have caught it, that takes a little bit of time as well, to catch yourself when you're going through this, okay? When you're going through all of this stuff. So, okay. So there's a whole nother conversation going on. I just put the thing back up. Okay. Sorry, guys. Right. So going through this, oversensitivity to stressful situation. Okay. So sometimes when we're going through, so welcome everybody that's come in. Sorry, guys. Welcome to all of you. So when someone goes through, the survivor catches themselves, in going through the abandonment symptoms, etc. Going through the natural energy of wanting something to end everything, right? So you go through this energy of being a survivor of your circumstances and understanding it and understanding the emotional, understanding the blackmail that you've been through, understanding the trauma that you've had. And you go through this period of your life where you're totally getting it and understanding it and dealing with it and working on it and fixing it. But at the same time, you have to give yourself slack when you go through emotional flashbacks. All right. And when you go through suppression, when you go through feelings of being completely abandoned. Okay, so when a person is abandoned, let's just talk about that for a second. When you go through abandonment, especially as a child, okay, so let me explain it this way. All right, so I'm just going to make this little point because it's really important to understand this. And once you can understand this, it goes into a deeper level of healing, which I will explain on another video. It's called frozen time conglomerates. Okay, so I know. Okay, I make these big words up for these things because it's like a time capsule. All right, so I want to explain this to you. Hang on a second. Okay, so now you know why, Debbie, if you have these things that are going on. But let me just explain this frozen time stuff. You take an infant, okay? So let's just take ourselves out of this situation for a second, but I'm going to explain it this way to you, so hopefully you'll understand it. You take a baby, an infant that is born, okay? So the baby's born, perfect, everything's fine, right? The baby focuses on, the baby's instinct is that mum is the nurturer, okay? The baby's instinct is mum is unconditional love, okay? Let's say, we'll put it that way. Mum is unconditional love. Dad is protection, okay? So the baby comes in and mum's unconditional love, that's the word that they know, like nurture, love. Dad is strong and protective. The baby is about 2 or 3 months old, okay? And suddenly, the mum has to go to hospital for some reason. The baby's 2-3 months old. The mother goes to hospital for some reason. Even though the baby is only 2 or 3 months old, the lifeline to nurturing and unconditional love is suddenly nowhere to be found, right? Completely cut away from this baby, right? whether the baby understands it at the time or not, there is a trauma that happens, right? So I'm talking, this is a scenario. This is not what's happened to me or anything like that, but there's a trauma that happens, okay? And it's frozen in time. So when the baby first felt the presence that the mother was gone and away from the baby, there's a trauma that occurs of abandonment. The baby doesn't understand that mum's just gone to hospital for some reason. The baby feels abandonment immediately and starts screaming and won't stop screaming, right? And nobody can console the baby because this lifeline is gone. The abandonment energy, if we say we're putting it over here, it's frozen in time, it stays there, right? Throughout the baby's life, the baby turns 2 years old. Mum's already back from hospital and stuff, so the end of the life wasn't happening to this baby, but the baby's now 2 years old. This frozen little energy of abandonment is still there, psychically embedded. The baby's now 2, and she's going to have another baby. So she's gone again into hospital. What happens to the baby? That very first time that that baby was abandoned, that opens again, okay? The trauma releases again. The baby thinks, oh my God, mum's gone again. I'm abandoned again. I'm rejected again. And it's just as bad as it was the very first time, okay? We go to the age of 2, through all of the journey of that baby's life where mum was not around, dad was not a protector, abandonment, rejection, I'm unsafe, I'm fearful, right? It opens up every single time. This is like frozen in time. It doesn't go away. This child will feel the intensity just like it was the very first time. When the child moves into a relationship of its own and there's a loss of that nurturing, loving, supposedly unconditional loving relationship and that person is gone, it opens up to the unhealed, soul, the unhealed person. Again, this is the first time. I'm abandoned, I'm rejected, I'm in fear, right? This is what happens to you. So this is just taking abandonment for an example. This is just taking that little word or that little feeling as an example. Now, who knows what happened between the ages of being born for you and say 3 years old, right? So in that time, your mum's probably gone. Your dad might not have been there. You may never have known your dad. And therefore, you live with extreme anxiety throughout your life because, he's supposed to be protecting you and that's not there. That's gone. Who protects you then? Well, God will probably abandon me as well. So you go living, shaking throughout your life, or distanced throughout your life, unheard throughout your life, pulled away from throughout your life. Or maybe you see your dad every now and then. He's away for work and he comes back and there's all this excitement when he comes back and you feel safe when he's there. And then he goes again and you're all vulnerable. Back and forth, back and forth. Your whole life is just back and forth, right? Your whole life is back and forth trying to figure yourself out, always thinking it's something wrong with me when it's a chemical reaction in your body and it's a true thing that happened to you, a feeling that you had that was so intense as a child that it stayed with you for the rest of your life, right? How interesting all these little facets of ourself really are. But in reality, you're only this beautiful, innocent little baby born. When you're born with an understanding and an expectation that your parents are going to be a certain way. That's just the expectation that every infant has. They have that expectation and you know that because they just cry and you will go and they know that they've got to cry to get your attention. They know they've got to cry in a different way to get food. They know they've got to cry in a different way because they're just being naughty, right? And they just want to be a pest right now because it's getting to you or whatever. So babies know more than we give them credit for, of course, but they also feel quite intensely. And I know that there are people that say, well, the kid doesn't know anything because he was only like a little guy when, this whole situation happened. So what would the kid know? He's going to get over it. On an internal level, that cellular memory, that the problem is there, the reaction is there that they had, and it's embedded within them. So sadly, throughout the rest of their life, when they slightly feel that experience, outpours all of this chaos from the past. And as I said, when you're unhealed, it happens like it's the first time. It's the first time. It's the first time. It's the first time. So the trauma is like burning, through you. And sadly, some people then go into a lot about it being their fault and can never get past that. So there are many people, obviously, that have tried to work with spirituality, but they wanted a magical wand placed on their head and suddenly all their problems are gone. And that can't happen. But a true healer and someone who's really, really, really working with you is going to tell you that this is up to you. These are the steps that you've got to take. Now, this is what you've got to do. And people don't want to hear sometimes that they have to put an effort into their healing, because they're exhausted. And I get that. So acknowledging your exhaustion, where that's come from, acknowledging what you do to yourself on a daily basis, acknowledging what you're putting into your body, acknowledging where you go off the deep end and abuse yourself, drinking and partying or whatever you do, right? And then you're trying to scramble back and fix it all again. Where does all that come from in the first place? That's my job. I want to help you get that out of you that you didn't even realize that you had. My husband's just like, I didn't even realize what I had, what was going on, why I was making the choices I was making, why these people were in my life, and he didn't understand that was not his fault. He was just thinking, oh, well, must have just been, there must be my karma or something. And I hate that, there are some things that are connected to your karma, but not everything bad that happens to you has anything to do with karma. It has more to do with you rejecting yourself, you not listening to yourself, you feeling like everybody else deserves more than you, right? On some level. If that's happened to you, if you feel everybody, if you feel like everybody deserves better, then you're a people pleaser that wants everybody to be happy with you, regardless of what you're actually going through yourself. That doesn't matter. You're tough, you're strong, you can deal with it. That's what you tell yourself, right? But the reality is that you're last. And, okay, so anxiety comes from fear, Debbie, right? So anxiety comes from fear. Your dad is gone. I believe that your dad's gone. Okay, he's supposed to protect on some level. Now you're left vulnerable. This is where the anxiety's coming in, but you can get past it. But so when you go through your life like this and you finally stop doing it, okay, so when you finally stop, and I will go into anxiety attacks on another one of these live things, but when you go into the right, so when you go into always putting yourself last, don't want to upset the apple cart, as they say, I found it when I was watching it happening to somebody that obviously I adore, I love with all my heart, my husband. I was watching him people please. I was watching him putting himself last. I was watching him never say something that he wanted to say, not speaking up when things are upsetting him, letting certain people in his family tell him what to do and off he'd go and do it, etc. I was watching this and I could not sit there and do nothing, right? So I'm like, no, no, you're not doing that anymore. No, I'm not gonna let people walk all over you because they know that they can get an emotional reaction out of you, right? They can get an emotional response from you where you'll just back off and you'll just do it. that's not going to happen on my watch, you know? And I couldn't let it happen. So as kind and loving and as sweet as somebody is, there gets to a point where they are exhausted from being that way, right? They're exhausted from being super nice. They're exhausted from letting everybody else go first. They're exhausted from everyone taking advantage of them that they didn't want to have happen, but they let happen anyway. They are exhausted from stuffing down their feelings. They're exhausted from other people who seem to know more than they do, so then they feel like crap again. They're exhausted from, their pain in their physical body. They're exhausted from arguing or people wanting to argue with them so they don't. They're exhausted from their whole life being walking on eggshells just in case they upset somebody, so they just don't say anything, so they just stay in a situation that is terrible because it's better than, getting out. So it's ridiculous, right? Because what ends up happening to the person who's doing that, the person who is putting themselves last every 5 minutes and not upsetting the apple cart and not saying anything and you're being, for one, is that you're destroying your inner body. So you will end up having problems with your legs, your back, your spine, your hips, your digestive system, your heart space, your lungs. You are destroying your body because you're giving all of your energy away to everybody else besides yourself first. When it comes to looking after yourself, you think that that's selfish, or you think that it doesn't matter. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. That's what you tell yourself. It's all right. I'll go without. It's all right. You do that. But it's not all right, because inside of yourself, you're really annoyed. You're really annoyed that that's happening. Okay? You are. And what happens with you is that all of a sudden you will fire off. Right? And you'll be angry and you'll be, I'm sick of it. And this is, I blah, blah. And you might even, throw stuff or whatever, right? In anger, right? Because you've built up this frustration over frustration over frustration. And it's not just one person. It's not just one person that you're catering to. Or it's the kids, or it's the kid's mum, or the dad, or your mother, because she's old and she's, got her problems, and then you feel guilty over that. It's not just one thing, right? It's a lot of things, okay? It's a lot of things that build up into you finally just going like, screaming to the heavens. All right, or maybe you take yourself away and scream somewhere else so you don't upset anybody. You're still going through that. And what happens is you might say this, oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Oh, you go first. You go first. Oh, my God. My husband at the stores, which I love. It's terrible. I love the fact that he lets people go first, but he does it all the time. Not that he's doing it now. But it's everything. Oh, wait a minute. You go first. And I'm like, let's just walk in here. We're first today. I will always hold the door, stand up for an old person, all that sort of stuff. Right? But anyway, there's all this stuff going on in the background. Sorry, guys. But, you're putting yourself last, even in a situation at the store and the parking spot. Now that's when there's serious problems, because when that happens, you're going to end up being the one that is suffering, and you actually believe that you're supposed to be suffering. So the suffering turns into self-blame. The self-blame turns into self-hate. The self-hate turns into problems like cancer eventually taking place in your body. It eventually starts happening. I've seen it 1,000 times. And there's nothing wrong with being kind, Marianne. Opening the door for old people, and people were ahead of you, you hold the door open. I get that. But if you're going out of your way all of the time to just let people in, or you go first, or hey, I'll don't worry about it. You have it. Yes, it is being kind, but in a sense, it's also just putting yourself last all the time, even in public, even out at the shopping center. And it builds a resentment. And, that's right. And, sometimes people see your kindness as a weakness. They think they can exploit you, and all the nasties out there that are, narcissistic or whatever, think that exactly, right? They can't wait to pounce on you. And yes, right, as my husband says, there is having manners and being nice and everything. That's one thing, and that's great. But always doing it, even inside the shopping center. Oh no, you go. Sometimes I'm just like, God, why are you not first? Like if someone was already having right of way or something, of course you let them go. But you need to, see yourself as important. See yourself as strong, etc. Yeah, and when you do this to yourself, though, is what I'm trying to get at, okay? The point that I'm trying to make here is, if you are someone who has been a people pleaser as a child, didn't want to upset the apple cart, didn't want to hear any problems, then you've done that your whole life, and you're sensitive, you're extra sensitive, and, you go out of your way to put people first, thinking that they will be pleased with you. Okay, that's what you're doing. You want people to be happy with you. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, but people should respect you for who you are, not for what you give them. That's the difference. All right, people need to appreciate. People need to appreciate each other's willingness to help, but your willingness to help by putting yourself, rather you would rather get yourself, in big trouble than someone else getting in trouble, right? You would rather take the fall rather than the person that actually deserves it to take the fall. You would rather, stop talking about your feelings because it's making someone else uncomfortable. You'd rather just deal with it than understand that your situation is really negative. So some people who are in negative relationships, for example, they're like, oh, well, it's not that bad, they don't beat me up, and I used to have that before, so it's better than that, so it's okay. No, you're just settling because you're trying to please the situation or society or your parents or something, right? So this is damaging to you, is what I'm getting at. And if you want to be really successful in yourself and in your life and confident, and get rid of all of these insecurities, and get rid of this feeling of frustration because you're so kind, and where's your reward? You're so nice, and why are people such jerks to you? You're so good, why does everyone think you're bad? You've got to get out of that sort of mindset with yourself first, regardless of what anyone is going to think about it. And then you're going to be strong enough to deal with others' reactions, whatever that has been, And it's like, my husband, with all of his back surgeries and his problems and his issues and the controlling people that have been in his life, he didn't even realize that. It's like, God, well, anyone looking on the outside in can see it. Anyone that was looking at my life from the outside in could see it, But you're in it just trying to please everybody, help everybody, fix everything, and leaving yourself last. And what good is that? What good are you to anybody if you're not here, right? If you're gone, especially if you've got children and you're still doing this, I've got to cater thing. Right? It's when you see it on somebody else, when you see someone else putting themselves last all the time, as somebody that puts themselves last all the time, and you see it with someone else, straight away you're like, you can see it a mile away and you don't like it, right? You don't like it that that person is letting that happen. How many people, ladies or guys, sometimes guys talk to each other and, share it all, whatever. But how many times have you seen someone in a relationship and gone, I don't know how they put up with that. I don't know, what is he or she thinking? Like, look at them and look at them. Like, what are they thinking? And I can guarantee you that if there is, for example, a girl that's extremely beautiful and she's with some guy that totally looks wrong for her, then she doesn't feel good about herself. So she's thinking this is great. Someone cares. And a lowering of standards or a settling for something that's not good enough, right? Because you don't feel good enough anyway, so it's okay. And that has to stop, because your physical body is telling you that it's not okay. Your mind is frustrated and you're looking for a way around this whole thing. You don't know how to get past your own self to get out of it. You don't know how to get past your own self. Women are taught, and I was taught to do everything. I've got to do everything for my partner. That's what I was taught, that you look after your partner and you do everything for them. But it was almost impossible, and then you feel like a failure because you haven't, done what you were told that you're supposed to do, and that's a real woman, so then you feel like a failure, right? It's all ridiculous. It's all labels that we've had placed. And the emotional flashbacks, the emotions that you have, the sadness that you have inside of yourself, right? The sadness that you have inside of yourself, the frustration and the inner pain and the anxieties and the stress is because you're up here 24/7 trying to please everybody. And emotionally, you hate it. You want something else. You're fighting with yourself all the time because, it's just constantly there where, suddenly that hating how you are comes right out to the surface in an unexpected way. So I wanted to talk with you guys about what your disorders you might have been, the disorders that you might have been labeled as an adult or a child or whatever, or the issues that you've had. And if you can understand, one, that you're trying to better yourself, which is fantastic, and you're trying to get there, and you're trying to understand things. But don't give yourself an excuse as to why not, oh, well, I've done that and that didn't work, and I did this, so nothing works. So in other words, you're telling yourself that you're defeated before you've even started, because who would listen? Who's going to want to help? Not even God, not even the angels. I can't even hear that. Remember what we talked about with energy plays as well. So not only have you got all the emotional side of things, but you've got the energy plays that happen, negatively, things happen to you. And then, things that have been squashed into your life, etc. And, people who have been working on their spiritual journey and not doing it in safety in the beginning and letting in all kinds of darkness, etc. So you've got all that over the top. And then you've got, your own stuff. You've got your own things that you're dealing with on top of all of that. So I wanted to show you about the, emotional flashbacks that you may be having, especially around the moons, and understanding how this affects you, understanding that there are frozen pieces of time that wake up every time something happens to you that's the same as the first time, and you can clear you can clear that away from yourself. You can live a life where you are on top of every single situation that comes up, and that you have a way out of it, and it's not beating yourself up, it's not hating on yourself or anyone else. You have a way out. You're manifesting. This is not working. Okay, I'm going to go in this direction. You're not living the energy of stress 24/7. And even when you have an understanding of your spirituality, right? You have an understanding of your spirituality and you're still doing it. There's unresolved stuff in there that you need to get to the surface, repressed memories or whatever it is. So we're going to go through different things. Have a think about this today, because we will be going through different things. I'm on 12 days. This is day 7 of 12 days live. And there is a lot of stuff happening in our own household at the same time. So hopefully if I'm here in the morning, or I'll be here in the afternoons, I'm not sure. But hopefully these things are just, these are just little talks about, subjects. These things affect your physical body. And my job as a healer is to help you to heal yourself. That's my job. All right. That should be every healer's job, is to help you help yourself. And as my husband says, everything is very simple. But if you've programmed yourself into a way of thinking for your whole life, then that's a lot of unraveling. Okay, it's a lot of unraveling. So have no doubt in your mind that there's understanding here. Obviously, I understand anything and everything that you've been through, one level or another. There's understanding. I have empathy for each and every one of you, and I get where you're coming from. And my whole mission is to help you to see that you don't have to blame yourself for the rest of your life. Okay, don't blame yourself for the rest of your life, and you can get out of this. Not only get out of this, but live a very confident, strong, and stress-free life, regardless of what the hell anybody thinks. Okay, and know that I'll be here again tomorrow, of course, and I might be doing some meditations and things for you as well. So I thank you all for listening, who was here, and we'll go on to a little bit more of this work tomorrow as well. Hopefully to see you then. But until the next time, thank you so much for being here, and for my wonderful husband Bobby, and of course G. Have a listen to G's podcast as well, and we hopefully are going to be on there at some point as well. So that'll be awesome. But until the next time, lots of love, and bye for now. Bye everyone.